Hey people, this is my weekly rundown of things in entertainment news that interested me over the past week. And I don't have that many stories to talk about this week, but I would like to get pretty in-depth with my first one, which is this big story that's been going on with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. It all started, I think it was last Sunday. It's been going on this entire week pretty much. And Michael Bay was at this presentation called Nickelodeon Upfront, I believe. And he made this statement about the development of the new movie, just kind of the storyline that they're going with, just to give people an idea of what they're doing with the franchise. And he's like, these turtles will be believable. I want kids to think that they could actually exist. And then he said, they're from an alien race, they're edgy, they're funny, but the part that people just keyed in on it was this statement, they're from an alien race. And there's just been this big controversy that erupted. And by controversy, I mean fanboy controversy, which means a bunch of people all over the place just being like, oh no, they're ruining the franchise, you're raping my childhood, oh, Michael Bay, worst director ever. And just that sort of thing. So then all throughout the week, you've had random people saying A, that they agree with it, or B, that they're kind of defending Michael Bay's vision for it. Like, I think the voice actors for Michelangelo and Leonardo in the first movie have both kind of put their opinion on it, as well as April from the first movie. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird have commented on it. And you see people on both sides. Personally, I am sort of toward the freak out end, but I think it's definitely something you have to wait and see about, because from what he said, they're from an alien race. If you take it literally, and the implication of there's this planet of turtles that these four came from, I really am totally against that, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what he meant by the statement. And Jonathan Liebesman, the director of the movie, has responded to the whole big story, and he said that he finds the freak out kind of amusing because the hardcore fans know that the TCRI canisters that contain the ooze that mutated the turtles is from an alien kind of waste thing, so they do have an alien origin, truly. That is part of their story. So if that is all that he meant by that statement, and they are maybe going to try to connect the ooze to the aliens and have that be a stronger presence in the film, then I'm fine with that, absolutely. And I think it's important to wait and see where they're going before we completely freak out. But just assuming for a second that the turtles are going to be members of this alien race of big turtles, I think it's completely idiotic, because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the title. You can't just change the fact that they are these normal turtles who have been mutated by something, because that is so inherent in what the concept is. And even more than that, if it's not just about the history of, oh, this is what the origin has been usually, because I think it has greater implications. Personally, my idea of what this franchise should do is very similar to what the first one did. I think the second film should go deeper into the origins and their discovery of how they came about. And in the second one, they touched on the kind of disappointment they felt at, oh, this was just some kind of random accident, and there was sort of a struggle in there dealing with where they came from and the fact that they are just completely isolated. They're the only ones that have ever been in existence, and they are the only turtles that will ever be. And there's a big difference between being that and being, oh, we're the only ones on this planet right now of our turtle race, but we know that there are people who are connected to us. And if I were doing a turtle series, I'd make that whole isolation feel very important to where the characters are going. Just, this is their reality. They're going to be in these sewers. They're never going to be a part of humanity and be able to connect with that and be a part of society and be out in the open, and how they deal with that, and how that's a part of how these characters kind of grow up and have to figure out what they're going to do with themselves and how they approach this aspect of their lives. So, yeah, I personally am very adamant about, yes, keep the origin very similar to what it is before. If they are aliens, then do it well. And another question I've had, if they are aliens, then how does Splinter come into this whole thing? Like, is there also a planet of alien rats out there? I just think that there needs to be some thought put into this if they are going to make that significant a change in the story. Because I explained it to my friend, and he doesn't seem to get the difference between how significant the difference is if they're aliens or if they're mutants, as long as they sort of look the same and do the same things. But I likened it to if they made Superman an advanced android in his next film. I feel like it's almost that significant of a difference. So that's really how I feel about that aspect of the story. There was also another thing. They were talking about the working title of the film, and they said that it might be called Ninja Turtles. And the implications of that are, there's a whole mutant alien controversy there, so that kind of got people more worried, are they not mutants anymore? And the teenage aspect of that, taking that out, and if that meant that they are going to be older turtles. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, honestly. When I talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I just call them the Ninja Turtles anyway, so if it's just the title, I'm fine with that, because yes, the whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is kind of iconic. That whole kind of silly, ridiculous name that has become something that is normal is one of the things that gives it its identity. But if they're just going to call it Ninja Turtles, that's not a huge deal. Adult Turtles, though, I think it could be a very cool concept if they did it that way and did it interestingly and matured these characters a little bit. Honestly, I'd like to see them go the opposite route and do more of the beginnings of the Turtles, because we've never really seen a turtle origin story told in how they come into the crime fighting aspect. We've seen, here's the use, we mutated, we trained for a while, and now we're fighting turtles. There was never much of a formation of who these characters are, so I think that would be very cool to do in the first movie. But if they were able to figure out a great way to do the adult turtle storyline, that would be something that would really separate it and be a possibly very worthwhile addition to the whole franchise and its history and everything. So I'm not 100% opposed to doing adult turtles, but I still would like to see the younger turtles. And the teenage aspect is so key to who they are, I think, and it's how most people identify them as these kind of fun characters. So if you did age them, I'm not sure how well that would work. But that's really all I've got to say about the whole turtle thing right now. In some very exciting news, Nickelodeon has released the pilot for The Legend of Korra early, so you can go to the website in the description and watch the whole thing right now. I have not watched it yet. I'm very excited to watch it. I just kind of remembered today that they released it yesterday. I think they had kind of a Facebook thing. If they got a certain amount of likes, they would release it early, and they got the amount of likes they needed pretty quickly. So be expecting a review of this sometime in the near future, maybe on next week's video. The CW has released the first official picture from their Green Arrow TV series, showing off the costume a little bit. And I think it looks good. I think it looks a little bit better than the Smallville costume, to be honest, which you can see here. This is one of the early pictures that they released for that, and it looked pretty corny. It looked better on the show, but the designs that they tried to put in there, the color contrast, just seemed a little bit unnecessary. This one is simpler. It's a little more elegant, though, I think. The leather looks a little bit better, and they have some cloth in it also. And I think it has a cool feel to it. I'm interested in seeing how it looks in motion and how it looks fully. But he's using a more traditional bow, which is interesting to me because it made sense for Oliver to use a more advanced bow in Smallville. But I'm curious to see why he chooses to use a more traditional bow in this version of the story. There's a new trailer out for Avengers Heroes Season 2, and I think it looks pretty cool. This series to me is one of those that is better than it looks, because the animation style and the way they advertise it a little bit makes it look a little bit kiddier than it really is. It tells some pretty good stories, and I'm excited to see where they're going with this season because it looks like they're really expanding their universe a bit and introducing them to some of the more prominent characters like the Fantastic Four, and I don't want to spoil the rest of it, so definitely check out that trailer because it's going to be a pretty cool season. My last story of the day, there have been a few new stills released for the Avengers, including this one here with Captain America. This is actually the most interesting one, though. The rest of them aren't really that interesting. They're just kind of close-up shots of people standing around. But if you are interested in the Avengers, you might want to check it out. It's got the link in the description. But that's really all I've got for this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, and tune in next time.